Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Book Readers Talks. We have with us today a medical copy editor, Mr. Vivek Kumar. Let us see which book he is going to talk about today. Hi, Vivek. Welcome to the show. And I'm eager to hear your
Yeah,
thoughts about your book reading.
thanks, Lalita. And I would say before book reading came into my life, it was newspaper
Hmm.
reading. And
I
I
see.
used to read a lot of newspapers. And other than the usual
Hmm.
popular ones, I used to read the offbeat ones also, like the Pioneer or the Sunday Observer, Sunday Mail, and
Okay.
Illustrated Weekly. So
Hmm.
newspapers and magazines like these were my twin uh, reading loves at that point of time, and it
Okay.
helped me crack a lot of competitive examinations also. And
Hmm.
the if I am asked to like point out a book,
Hmm.
so that
Hmm.
will be Word Par Made Easy
Oh,
seller.
yeah.
And I remember I
Hmm.
finished it in maybe 18, 19 days when I was like when in my class 10th. So
Okay.
when we were waiting for the results, we used to have those summer vacations. I utilized that time to read that
Hmm.
book and did it in 18, 19 days. And I think my love for the English language started from there.
Hmm.
It can be
Okay.
the foundation. The second book was a Reader's Digest reference book. You can say it was how to read and write English.
Right.
And obviously, one needs
Hmm.
to know how to write a cover letter or how to
Hmm.
prepare a resume. It was a big help. And
Okay.
I actually had to sell my radio. I used to have a small Philips uh,
Hmm.
transistor or radio.
Okay.
So I had to sell that off to be able to still have, but it did help a lot. And so both the books are related to English language, and they helped set the foundation for my current career as an editor.
Okay. Can you recall a specific book or moment that sparked your interest in reading?
I don't remember any book like, yeah, like when we were in school, there used to be a library period, and sometimes we uh, got ourselves a book to take
Okay.
home. But
Hmm.
like I belong to a era where we used to spend time outdoors.
Hmm.
A lot of time, like we used to spend outdoors. We used to go to the playground and play either like homework is to be done. So the only reading that was possible at that point of time was either school books or the newspaper, which I used to read after
Hmm.
coming back from school, or some magazines, you can say. But the hardcore reading which kids do nowadays, like they start with Enid Blyton or Ruskin
Hmm.
Bond,
Yeah.
Murthy, or I was saying that like my childhood was not the kind of childhood where I read a lot of books.
Okay.
When I compare it to my son's childhood,
Hmm.
so obviously finances was one
Right.
factor. When you have
Hmm.
like four kids in the house, it's not easy to like
Hmm.
afford the extra expenses. And
Right.
but somehow that reading habit was there. And
Hmm.
whether it was newspapers, magazines, or the odd book I used to manage in the library or like through my own resources.
Hmm.
And uh, I would say that books were few and far between. I still remember the names of the books that I read maybe during my college days.
Hmm.
My Feudal Lord by Tahmina Durrani was
Okay.
one book.
Uh,
Then Lajja by Taslima Nasreen,
sure. Hmm.
and I think a couple of books by Khushwant Singh, and some self-improvement books. The usual ones like You Can Win by Shiv Kheda, or How to Make
Hmm.
Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And
Okay.
but the first job that I got, it was in a book publishing company, and
Okay.
they had a backlist, and and the front list, which is like the latest books that they were publishing. So
Hmm.
every book I worked on, I used to like bring home a copy. And
Hmm.
the backlist also, I read quite a few. So that was another phase in my life where I read some books,
Hmm.
and you can even say some unpublished like manuscripts that used to come in.
Hmm.
So couple of those also I read, like even though they were not published, but like some of them were
Hmm.
very good. And then you get into a proper career, like even though that book publishing job was my first job, but my
Hmm.
actual entry into the world of editing, or copy editing to be more precise, it happened in 1999 when I joined my second job in a company by the name of Tech Books.
Hmm.
And there also, like, I was fortunate. There was Work had just started coming in, so there was time. So the kind of books I read at that particular point in my life was again very different. Like it was the usual reference books for editing. So
Hmm.
there was a book by Johnson. It like I don't recall the exact title, but and there was a book by Karen Judd, Copy Editing, a Practical Guide. I read that. There used to
Hmm.
be style manuals which I finished. So that was, you
Hmm.
can say, work related reading. And
Yeah. Right. Hmm.
my actual journey
Hmm.
as a reader who reads for pleasure,
Hmm.
like I would say that started just a few years back, maybe 4 or 5 years back. That was
Okay.
the time when I started spending time in the evenings, and
Hmm.
I used to pick up a book, read some pages, and because during the day I have whatever reading I do, it's related to my job, and
Hmm.
mostly I'm reading stuff that will have a lot of mistakes. So I have to change to a different form of reading in the evening, and I call it my like soul food. It's food for my soul or food
Hmm.
for my brain.
Right.
Unless I have that, I don't feel satisfied, or like it's not
Hmm.
easy to go to sleep. And
Right.
I'm fortunate that now I am in that phase of life where I read daily, and sometimes it's to the extent that the book is so engrossing that you're forced to finish it in one go. So it's like I have the time and I have the resources also to buy the books.
Hmm.
So it's a happy phase that I am now in. And
That's great. Which author have you chosen today to speak about?
I would say that everyone chooses might be choosing famous authors or people who have written bestsellers, but I would like to use this opportunity to highlight a book which I read yesterday.
Okay.
Like I got it yesterday, and I started it in the afternoon, and by the evening it was over. So I will maybe show you the title.
Sure.
If I don't
Oh,
know,
okay.
it might be appearing in reverse, but the title
No.
is
Hmm.
Mandeep Meets Mandeep.
Okay.
And so it's a very intriguing kind of title. You like a reader starts thinking, okay, what it is? Mandeep meets Mandeep, and the cover also, if you like look at it, there is a sort of a chromosome or a that
Hmm.
genetic ladder kind of thing. You have two faces, and
Right.
the blurb is also very interesting, very enticing.
Mhm. Okay.
Uh, I will just maybe read out one
Sure.
sentence.
Yes.
Unknown to them, each sip of water they took, each morsel of food they ate, and each breath of air they inhaled was steeped in poison. So that's a,
Hmm. Yeah.
it sets your mind thinking, okay, what's happening? Uh,
Yes.
it was the end with no escape now. Mandeep's decade-long quest was going to end tragically. He was just counting his days, but then destiny had something else planned for him in the form of a stranger who stormed into his life like a tornado, turned it around, and quietly left, leaving him not with questions but answers. Answers to his
Oh.
prayers, to his needs, and to the questions he had not yet asked. It was providence or just pure luck that they crossed paths. The mystery man shared not just his name, but also a deep bond with the very core of his being, his genetic code. That made all the difference between life and death. And this story is based on true events actually.
Okay.
So that's
Nice.
why
Hmm.
it's inspired by a news clipping that had appeared in the newspaper in February. And
Okay.
the author of this book, she chanced to read that news item. Then she contacted the particular journalist who had written the news item, and
Hmm.
then this book came about, and I'm glad she wrote about it because it's a very important topic. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't like to like give away the uh, gist or the
Oh,
like
yes.
suspense,
Spoilers.
but I leave it to the readers. But it's certainly worth it. They should
Hmm.
like order it, and because a lot of authors, like not everyone gets a chance to get published with traditional big
Hmm.
five publishers
Yeah.
like
Right.
Penguin, Penguin,
Hmm.
HarperCollins, Rupa, Juggernaut, and Neogi Books. Like so many well-known publishers that are there. It's not easy, and but
Hmm.
the people who are even self-publishing their books or they are going with lesser-known publishers, it's
Hmm.
the quality is good. It's
Okay.
just that they need better exposure and better marketing
Hmm.
support.
Hmm.
So like we are part of a group of authors which we call the triple AI, which is like
Okay.
aspiring authors alliance of India. And
Okay.
a publisher has created this group,
Hmm.
and through him we are like we're getting a chance to participate in book fairs. Like
Hmm.
we can display our books at the book at the stalls, and
Hmm.
interact directly with the readers.
Hmm.
So, and we are reading each other's books also,
Hmm.
which like I would never have come across this book if I was not a part of that group.
Correct.
So these are incidents or accidents that happen, and
Right.
like they get you in touch with good literature.
Hmm.
And because I like reading non-fiction, I like reading books that are based on a person's experience, or books that are
Hmm.
based on real life, or books that can change you or can change
Hmm.
someone else. Like I call them life-changing books.
Right.
Um, I remember when I went for my interview for my second job,
Hmm.
the book that I was reading during my journey, it was like The
Yeah.
Magic of Thinking Big.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So that was I maybe I read it to just get inspired or motivated, but now I don't need don't feel the need to read those books. So I would say that a
Hmm.
person's taste, they
Hmm.
change as one
Hmm.
goes on in life.
Right. Yes, you are right. I think at every phase we have different choices of books, and we keep reading them.
And
Huh. Okay.
the author is Dr. Sona Sharma. She is a medical professional, blogger, and a science enthusiast. And she has
Okay.
written a mythology science fiction, Time and Tide.
I see.
Yeah. And
Okay.
she is a firm believer in making early education exciting. So she has also
Hmm.
written a series of books for young readers, which deals with like science concepts.
Hmm.
And she is based in
Okay.
Mumbai. And
Okay.
so she will be coming for uh, the Delhi World Book Fair, and maybe she will be having a launch for her book also,
Okay.
because this is the kind of book that more and more people should get to know
Hmm.
about. Like,
Right. So, in which languages do you like to read books?
uh, it's English by default, you can say, because like I've been educated in a English medium school,
Hmm.
and maybe just a couple of books in Hindi I have read. And
Okay.
like one of my friends, she has written
Hmm.
some books. Like her father has written some books for children.
Hmm.
Um, so one of the books was based on certain plays that he had written. So that it was in Hindi, and I read it and I liked it. Mostly it's English.
English. Okay.
Yeah. Or like even if it's a translation, like translated from
Hmm.
some other language, it has to be in English.
Okay. Quote a few lines which you enjoyed the most.
Lone occupant of the coffee shop sat on a chair facing the other way. Mandeep walked up hesitantly and touched his shoulder, unsure about how they would both react. The stranger turned. Hi, I am Mandeep, that's all he said. No other words were needed, nor any explanations or gestures. Nothing could convey what he was feeling. His entire life until then culminated in this moment. Emotions spilt into his eyes as he hugged him tight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is all he could say, and not surprisingly, that was enough. It was a few minutes before he let the stranger go, and that is how Mandeep met Mandeep. So it's
Okay.
from the first few pages, and
Hmm.
then you have that entire story, and then in the end you have these
Hmm.
words repeated.
Hmm.
And like I read a lot of books which you can say are memoirs,
Okay.
because that is where you get to learn of the struggles or the
Hmm.
experiences that those people have had
Hmm.
during their life, during their education, and during
Hmm.
their career. And so
Hmm.
you get to learn a lot. You get
Hmm.
information, and it's a kind of a relaxation also. It's a kind of a
Hmm.
motivation also. And like they are living figures, so you
Hmm.
can always like track their progress also, how they are
Hmm.
doing. So I've
Hmm.
I've read a lot of memoirs, and also a lot of books that are related to books. So it's like books
Okay.
on books.
Okay.
Uh,
Hmm.
so Off the Shelf, that is
Hmm.
a book by Sridhar Balan, who is an
Okay.
editor. So
Uh-huh.
that's a book I enjoyed.
Okay.
And uh, when I was doing my book editing course, like one of the faculty members,
Hmm.
uh, she mentioned a novel that she had written.
Hmm.
It was not fiction. It was again like non-fiction only.
Hmm.
Ashramd was the
Oh,
name
okay.
of the book. It
Uh-huh.
was like she went to an ashram, and she was describing her experiences of how
Hmm.
it was. And
Hmm.
like I would like to mention the
Hmm.
some statistics, like even though I am a late bloomer when it comes to reading, because
Hmm.
of the factors that I had mentioned. Like
Yes.
last year I read 36 books. So it
Oh.
comes to like 3 books per month.
Mhm.
But this month, like in 26 days, I have already finished six. And
Oh, okay.
I am now
Double
on to
the.
my, yeah, I've already doubled my average. I am now on to my seventh one, and like I have ordered a couple more. I was mentioning books about books, so Off the
Right.
Shelf is one. Then
Hmm.
The Cooking of Books, a
Okay.
literary memoir by Ramchandra Guha. It's coming out on 29th of January. So that one I have already ordered. Then there
Okay.
is another book by the name of Shelf Unaware. Oh, Shelf
Hmm.
Aware.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
it describes all sorts of genres, all sorts of books, and like the author is
Hmm.
a book collector. So
Hmm.
it's again like every chapter is 2 pages, but it's very interesting.
Oh,
And
nice.
editors on editors, it's another book.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
Eat Shoots and Leaves. That's another book
Hmm.
related to editing.
Okay.
So like I can
Nice.
keep on reeling the names, like because now I have become such a voracious reader. And
Correct.
this year actually I've started noting
Hmm.
down to just to keep a record. Okay, which
Oh.
books I have read
Hmm.
this year, and I have told my son also to do the same. Maybe he should write the starting date. Okay, when did he start a particular book and when did he finish? Although, like
Hmm.
me, he also takes just a couple of days to
Huh.
finish. My wife, like she says, both of you seem to be in a competition, like who reads more books. But we tell her that it's a valuable
Hmm.
hobby. Like it's because we learn of so many things, learn of so many
Hmm.
countries, cultures, and people even without visiting.
Yes.
So travel books is like one segment which I like
Hmm.
because somehow I'm not getting a chance to travel as much as I would like to. So I just compensate for that by reading the books and maybe getting the information ready so that it comes in handy when I actually go out. And
Hmm.
so even within the travel segment, you can have books where a book will deal with the food habits of the
Hmm.
writer while
Okay.
while he or she has traveled. Or
Hmm.
you can have I read a book on train journeys.
Hmm.
So like the author traveled all over the world in different trains. So you get to
Hmm.
know about a lot of things.
Hmm.
And
Yes, that is true.
so I would say it's a wonderful hobby. And we see a lot of readers in the book fairs, and
Okay.
somehow I feel that should be replicated. Publishers, maybe they can have book exhibitions in schools and colleges, because
Hmm.
that's the only way for us to get kids hooked onto reading, and then try and keep them away from the cell phone. Like they shouldn't be spending too much of screen time on the
Hmm.
cell phone, which is not really good for the eyes.
Right.
And
Well
reading is
said.
something that can like open doors in
Hmm.
terms of careers. I would like I am an editor. It has happened only because of my reading, because of my love for language.
Right.
Like I don't have any other technical skill as such, but
Hmm.
you can call me a book doctor.
That's a nice term. Okay,
That
then that's all.
okay. Thanks, Lalita.
Mhm.
Okay. Have a
Okay, bye
nice
bye.
day. Bye.
Thank you.